Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining today. My name is Russell Irwin. I'm the Support and Remediation Lead for the Delivery Partner team. On the call today, we have other members of the Delivery Partner from Arup, PwC and Turner & Townsend, along with our delivery agent colleagues from Salix. So I'm also joined by my colleague, Corey Mason, who's the Assurance Workstream Lead, and my colleague, Leanne Massey, who's the Grant Management and Continuous Functions Lead. Also, we've got Bren Garvey, who's the Operational Engine Room Lead, and we've got Helen Clark from our Salix team who are joining us on the call. The purpose of today, so this is one in a series of Wave 2.2 SHDF grant recipient group engagement sessions. So these sessions are going to provide you with the information to support you in delivering your SHDF Wave 2.2 projects. Today, we will start off with an introduction to the delivery partner. This session will provide you with a high-level overview of how we interact with you and some of the processes that are involved. And the format for today, we're going to be running a 30-minute presentation. So that will be followed by a question panel, which will be related to today's content. And the panel will last up to 30 minutes. And the session today, as we said, is going to be recorded, and we will make that available to you afterwards, along with a copy of the slides as well. So how we're going to run today's session regarding the Q&A, we'll have some of that at the end. So please do add your questions into the chat during the presentation. So this will then be directed to the Q&A panel at the end. And as a reminder, we're only going to focus on questions relating to today's content. If you have any project-specific questions, please save those and direct those towards your SPOC, who will be your single point of contact, so following your initial kickoff meeting. So today, how today's session will run, so the audience, your cameras and mics are disabled. They will be re-enabled once the question panel begins, and we'll call you in to ask your question directly. As I said, the slide deck will be available after the call. Follow up at the moment. We're ready to start, so I'm going to hand over to Corey Mason and Leanne Massey.
Thank you very much there, Russell. So hi everyone, I'm Corey Mason. I'm the Project Support and Assurance Workstream Lead for the Delivery Partner, and I'll kick off our slides today, the introduction of the Delivery Partner. Next slide, please. So I'll kick off with a bit of background and context for our work. I'll then move on to roles and activities, looking at governance and those involved, before we go into a bit more depth around the roles and activities of the delivery agent and the delivery partner. And then we'll move on to talk about the delivery partner's relationship with yourselves, the grant recipients. And then we'll touch on a couple of high-level customer journeys for yourselves, the SHDF grant recipients. And then we'll move on to the questions panel. Next slide, please. So we'll kick off now with some background to our work. Next slide, please. So SHDF Wave 2.2 is set in the context of the 2019 Conservative Manifesto proposals, which included proposals for a historic amount of funding to go into our sector. So there were two particular areas where commitments were made. So there was the 3.8 billion for the Social Housing Decarbonisation Fund, the SHDF, which was established to improve the energy performance of social rented homes. And then 2.5 billion for the Home Upgrade Grant, HUG, which provides energy efficiency and low carbon heating funding for low income and off gas grid households. The first awards of funding launched in 2020, and there have been ranges of funding through 2023 to 24. So we've had Home Upgrade Grant funding awarded within that period, and we've had Wave 1 of the SHDF, as well as Wave 2.1 and now Wave 2.2 of the SHDF fund. Next slide, please. So looking at the SHDF, it aligns with the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero, so DESNZ's, departmental priorities in three ways. So firstly, it works to meet the UK's legally binding net zero commitments and support economic growth. Secondly, it improves the energy efficiency of our homes in the UK and helps us to meet that 15% demand reduction ambition. And thirdly, it helps to seize the economic benefits of net zero. So this is about jobs and the growth that's created through these investments in new green industries. Next slide, please. So let's have a look at some of the award statistics. So this is Wave 1 and Wave 2.1. So in SHDF Wave 1, it started with award to 66 grant recipients, and the average project size was around 5.38 million. There was a very significant scale up then for SHDF Wave 2.1, where 107 grant recipients were awarded funding, and within those, around 277 registered providers were in receipt of grant awards, and that's because we had some fairly sizable consortia within those grant recipients. The average project size was a bit bigger, so it's 6.8 million, and the total funding pot was 778 million, with 100,000 homes set to receive works through that funding. Next slide, please. Which then takes us on to Wave 2.2. And I'll pause there just to say congratulations, because if you're on this call, you've been successful in achieving a grant award through Wave 2.2, and you'll be one of the organisations that was notified on Monday, the 18th of March, that you'd received funding from DESNZ for SHDF Wave 2.2. You'll be one of 42 grant recipients, and within your grant recipient group, there are 69 registered providers that are receiving grant this time around. Again, because we've got some consortia in there. The average grant size, project size, is 5 million, and this time around it was £75.6 million of grant funding that was provided, and around 8,600 properties are set to receive retrofit works through the funding. Next slide, please. So now we'll move on to governance, and we'll look at a high level arrangement of the governance. So next slide, please. So there are 4 main areas of governance that we'll touch on here. So first of all, we have the departments, so DESNZ. DESNZ have a direct contractual relationship with yourself, the grant recipients, through the grant funding agreement. And the SHDF Wave 2 delivery team will work to process and distribute grant funds directly to yourselves, the grant recipients. We then have the delivery agent, which is Salix Finance. There is a direct contractual relationship between Salix and the department, and they're appointed by the department as the sole contract manager for the grant administration service. The delivery partner then provides the grant administration service and has a direct contractual relationship with the delivery agent, and is made up of PwC, Arup, and TNT. And then we have the grant recipients. You will have your direct contractual relationship with the department, but your main engagement point will be with the delivery partner, and that will be through your single point of contact, the SPOC, who you'll be hearing a lot more about through this presentation and through the other group engagement sessions that we have planned for you. Next slide, please. So we'll now delve into a bit more detail around the roles and activities of the delivery agent and then the delivery partner. So starting with the delivery agent, next slide, please. So who is the delivery agent? The delivery agent is Salix Finance, and Salix aims to enable and inspire organisations to achieve net zero and really create better places to live and work. Salix is wholly owned by the government. Salix is a non-departmental public body and are the contracting authority for the delivery partner. Salix have been working with the UK government and the devolved administrations in Scotland and Wales for many years. They've got over 18 years of experience, and they've been delivering funding schemes and support to a range of organisations, including councils, schools, housing associations, hospitals, universities, as well as the private sector, and that's to really help them to boost their energy efficiency. Celix also offer insights and intelligence and influence by sharing knowledge and lessons that are learned from that project delivery, with the aim of helping to improve future schemes and the development of policy going forwards. Next slide, please. In the context of our work, Celix as the delivery agent has 5 main areas. So first of all, they're there to see that the delivery partner is helping yourselves, the grant recipients, to enable delivery. They own the escalation resolution for GRs. They're an escalation point for ourselves, but they're also an escalation point for yourselves. If you feel the need to escalate anything beyond the delivery partner, you're able to escalate through the delivery agent. The delivery agent also supports the department by providing assurance at scheme level. So that's the assurance when we talk about the scheme, we're talking about HUG as a scheme and we're talking about SHDF as a scheme. So they've got that strategic oversight. The delivery agent also provides the intelligent client function. So that's about insight and analysis and working closely with ourselves to provide intelligence around what's happening across the schemes and the overall delivery. And finally, the delivery agent provides the grant recipients with a learning community, and that's space and time for you to share knowledge and experience and support each other through delivery. Next slide, please. And with this, I'll hand over to my colleague, Leanne Massey.
Great, thanks so much, Corey. And yes, let me start by introducing myself. My name's Leanne Massey, and I am the continuous function lead in the delivery partner. Now, this next set of slides is really introducing you to the delivery partner and who we are and our roles and responsibilities in SHDF. So really, what's critical here is that we're sharing with you how we will work to support you as you are mobilising and delivering your projects. Next slide, please, Kayla. The delivery partner is made up of 3 organisations, PwC, Arup and Turner Townsend. Each organisation is responsible for specific aspects of the delivery partner role, and responsibilities are aligned to the expertise of each. PwC is the lead contract holder. However, the success of our delivery partner relationship is rooted in how we work under a partnership approach that recognises the unique contribution and the power of 3 experienced organisations in supporting our grant recipient community. We have established strong, effective ways of working together during the mobilisation phase last summer, and those have continued into our business as usual approach. Next slide, please. PwC takes the lead on grant management. This includes aspects of finance, programme management, compliance, fraud and risk assurance. Turner & Townsend leads on project assurance. This includes oversight of the SPOC network, who will be a critical support to you as they provide dedicated support to grant recipients as you work to deliver your projects as planned. Arup leads on the HUG batch and the SHDF competition management. So for you, this includes the recent assessment of your application, right through to supporting you with the issue and return of your grant funding agreements. As a delivery partnership, we are collaborative and we seek input from others throughout all areas of the work that we're doing across SHDF. Next slide, please. Okay. The delivery partner is composed of 3 organisations who have a passion and a commitment to deliver the net zero ambition set out in the SHDF scheme, really wanting to make sure that we are working to increase the energy efficiency of social housing and really leading to warmer homes and lower bills. We have worked hard to mobilise our services in grant management, competition management and project assurance to support the delivery of the SHDF projects. As you now enter the delivery phase, we will provide you with the support and the guidance so that you can deliver your project as planned in line with the scheme rules and requirements. And these are some of the core areas that we are supporting you with. So, 3 things to really highlight here. First of all, we will meet with you monthly as part of the ongoing regular engagement you can expect as you begin your project delivery. We want to understand the progress that you're making, as well as the risks and the issues that are getting in the way of your delivery. We will help you navigate those instances where changes might be needed, and we will support you to explore the options available to you, as well as helping to keep you within the scheme requirements. Secondly, our support will be active. We will balance providing you with support to also giving you challenge when needed so that you have the best chance of achieving your goals. And finally, we aim to bring a strategic approach that will directly, we hope, benefit you and your project. We want to understand how your project contributes to the bigger picture and those bigger ambitions as Corey laid out. We will work to give you advice on technical aspects of your delivery, and we really do aim to make sure that we're bringing our collective learning from how others approach similar issues or challenges in their delivery. We will be here to support you with what you need to deliver your project as planned. Next slide, please, Kayla. The activities of the delivery partner can be summarised in these 6 areas listed here. And you will learn more about these in full as the introductory sessions are delivered over the next couple of weeks. We will actively support your project delivery through our monthly assurance and one-to-one support to understand your progress, your achievements, as well as your challenges. Where changes are needed to your project, we understand that things don't always go as planned. We will make sure that we are working with you to make those changes within the scheme parameters. We will also seek to gather trends and understand the impact at a portfolio level, and this will allow us to confidently articulate the impact on the overarching net zero ambition for this scheme. We will also drive a strong control environment with appropriate levels of financial checks, as well as fraud, error and compliance support throughout. Now back to Corey. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Leanne. Next slide, please. Okay, so we'll now touch on the delivery partner's relationship with the grant recipient. So next slide, please. So relationship building through one-to-one support. And we really wanted to emphasize the relationship building. We see it as a really important thing that we build a very strong relationship with each and every one of you. And your direct contact with the delivery partner will be through your single point of contact. So that will be your SPOC. You'll have a regular check-in with your SPOC on a monthly basis. And as part of that, they'll be reviewing your monthly data in advance to understand where your project is at, so they can have a good conversation with you once they meet with you on your monthly check-in. The SPOC will provide oversight and support and expertise to help you in a number of different ways, and we've just picked out a few key ones here. So firstly, to deliver your projects to plan, and as Leanne said, things don't always go to plan, so they'll be there to help you when that happens. They'll be available to report progress, so to all of those stakeholder groups that I covered earlier in the governance process, and to provide you with a risk escalation point. So where you have project risks or other risks related to your project, your SPOC is your key point of contact to go to, and they'll be able to advise you on the next steps that need to be taken. Your SPOC will also be a consistent route for all communications, so that could be the latest news from Wave 2.2 and information that needs to be shared, or it could be lessons learned across the scheme and a multitude of other areas as well. The SPOC is your go-to person. So there are 3 key touch points to be aware of, and the SPOC or the SPOC team will be organising the following touch points. So there'll be an initial kick-off meeting, and then you'll move into monthly check-in meetings, and those will carry on throughout scheme delivery. And there might be additional check-ins where required, where either additional support or some extra check-in is needed if the road gets bumpy along the way for delivery. Now, what I would just note here is that I'm aware that action plans will be, so you'll be supported by the TAF team to work on an action plan, which will help you to respond to any feedback that you've had from your grant application from the department, and that will just help you to smoothly transition from your grant application into the support that you're going to be provided through the delivery partner. Next slide, please. So let's have a look at in a bit more detail at that one-to-one support. So the SPOC's there to help you navigate your projects, and they'll do this through a number of different areas. And again, we've picked out the key ones here. So firstly, they'll work with you to set up an initial baseline. Now, this will be your project baseline against which all performance is managed going forwards, and that'll be part of the work that's done in the run-up and into your kick-off meeting. As part of that initial kickoff, they'll also work with you to complete an initial risk assessment, so that yourself, your stakeholders, as well as all of the stakeholders in that governance model are aware of your baseline level risk of your project. We then move into day-to-day oversight, monitoring and performance support. So that's where we move into those monthly meetings and support through those monthly meetings and touch points. As part of that, there'll be risk review and monitoring. So that will be reviewing your monthly reports, going into the meetings and discussing those. And then as part of the meeting, there will be a monthly delivery confidence assessment that the SPOC will do alongside you. And again, that will be taking all of the information that you've discussed, as well as the risks and the data that comes through in your data submission monthly, to provide a confidence assessment of delivery. And again, so that yourself, your stakeholders, and all of the stakeholders within the governance model are aware of the current state of risk that the project is running. And that might lead to identification of interventions that are needed to maintain project progress. Those might be interventions that you will take at project level, or they might be interventions where you need to reach into that governance model, and those could be for oversight and guidance, particularly around project change request and remediation preparations. And finally there, the SPOC support is designed to be able to support you and to reach back to help to assess the controls that you have in place for your compliance with your statutory and regulatory standards. Next slide, please. So what can you expect from us? So through your SPOC, you can expect a number of things, and these are commitments that we're providing to you. So we'll aim to help you to identify and get ahead of risk and to de-risk project delivery. We know that getting ahead of project risk is a really key thing to keep projects on track. So we'll be there to help you to do that on a monthly basis and through our touch points that we have with you. Secondly, you'll benefit from a national network of expertise and knowledge in the DP delivery partner. your SPOC will be able to draw on that national network. So your SPOC will be part of a regional team, and we have 5 regional teams, and we have knowledge networks that are set up across all of those regional teams. So although you might be speaking to your SPOC, actually there's a whole team that sit behind them that they can reach into to help to draw on that knowledge and expertise should you need to. Thirdly, we'll engage and respond promptly. So your SPOC should be able to answer lots of questions, but in the event where they need to draw on wider delivery partner expertise, or they need to escalate a query up to the delivery agent or to the department, they'll let you know that they need to do that, and they'll also give you an indication of timescales for responses. We'll also work to understand your project and your regional context and provide continuity over the course of the project. And that's really where the strength of the regional teams will come into play. And then lastly on there, we'll help to guide you through those key processes and procedures to help your projects run as smoothly as they possibly can. Next slide, please. So we'll now touch on a couple of high-level customer journeys to let you know what to expect from your initial kickoff and also from those monthly meetings. Next slide, please. So this is your initial customer journey. So we have the delivery agent that sits across the top there, who's providing assurance of the delivery partner, us, and also managing the learning communities. So the starting point there is the grant funding agreement, which is issued, and then the delivery partner will be supporting you to get your grant agreement agreed and signed off. We've then got the third box there, which is the group engagement sessions, of which today is the first of a range of those, and I'll run through the others towards the end of the slide pack. You'll then move on to your initial kickoff meeting, and that will be the SPOC and yourselves, and in some cases the delivery agent will also be attending those meetings. And there are 2 key outputs from those meetings. So along the top line there, you'll have the project baseline review and change control identification. So this is where we're establishing that baseline for your project and also identifying if there's been any change from your grant application submission to where you are now, identifying if some early change control is needed and taking the necessary steps. And off the back of that, there'll also be that initial risk assessment that I touched on earlier, and that will include a fraud risk assessment and then an update to the risk register. And that's where you'll then move on to the monthly touch points as well as the annual customer journey, of which I'll talk through the monthly customer journey shortly. The other output from that kickoff meeting is the handover and initial drawdown request with the department. The department will review that request, and following checks and balances, the first payment will be released to you. Next slide, please. So this then is the monthly customer journey. It's kicked off by yourselves through submitting your monthly data, so your monthly report and information. That'll be on a monthly basis, and also your funding request, which will be submitted 2 months in advance. The delivery partner will be carrying out data checks on those submissions. In some cases, there might need to be a reach out to yourselves if there are any discrepancies that are found. The SPOC will be reviewing the monthly data before they then meet with you in your monthly meetings. And in your monthly meetings, you'll then be able to have a really good and informed conversation around the status and the progress of your project. As part of that monthly meeting, the SPOC will work with yourselves to carry out the delivery confidence assessment, which will help to identify any risks and help to identify ways of getting ahead of that. So it really acts as a means for identifying early warnings and any potential underperformance and what those options might be. If there are options that need to be recommended, those will be wrapped up, and all of that information will then be provided back to you as an output from that meeting. And then lastly there, the last box on there is the funding received. So that will be 2 months after the initial funding request, and funding requests on a 2 monthly basis then going forwards. Next slide, please. So this is the group engagement schedule. First one is today. We've got another 2 this week. So we've got one tomorrow, which is the governance, escalation and change control processes. We have one then on Thursday, which is the project monitoring, reporting, audit and assurance, where we'll delve down into more detail around some of those areas that I've touched on there, particularly in the process flows. We'll then break for Easter. And then on Tuesday, the 9th of April, we'll have a session on fraud, risk assessment and management. Wednesday, the 10th, project management and project remediation. Thursday, the 11th, will be reconciliation, evidence checks and return of grant funding. Now, I should say all of these will be recorded. So if any of the dates and times don't work for you, don't worry. We'll be providing the recordings to you that you can watch at your leisure. Next slide, please. This is the last one before we move on to the panel. So I've got some contact details and further information. You'll be having your SPOC initial kickoff meetings from Monday, the 22nd of April, and the SPOC team will contact you shortly to arrange those meetings. What I would say is don't hold off on getting cracking with delivery. The delivery window for this wave of funding is very short, so we urge you to get cracking with your schemes and not holding off until you have that kickoff meeting. After you've had your kickoff meeting, you can direct any project-related queries to your SPOC. But in the meantime, if you've got any urgent things that need to be flagged, then we'll be providing your regional lead contact details with the slide pack after this session. The regional leads manage and coordinate the SPOCs within their regions, and the SPOC that will be working with you is already integrated into that team. So the regional lead can be the conduit for anything urgent between now and the point of time we're actually in contact with your SPOC. And with that, we'll close the presentation and I'll hand back to Russell to facilitate Q&A, please.
Thank you very much, Corey. So there is a question in the chat there that we can pick up on. So we've got panel members from across the delivery partner here to pick up any calls, but the one question we've got in is just about the SPOC network. So Andy Barton, would you like to come in and obviously ask your question?
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, in here.
Brilliant. Yeah, it was about a SPOC question in particular, but it was also about an email that I sent into Salix last week, which I'm still waiting for a response for. And they're fairly critical questions on the basis of the way our award was bidded for and the need for us to make some changes, and we're still waiting for a response on that one. Is there any idea how we can get that escalated? We had a chaser last week saying it was going to be responded to, but we still haven't had a response.
Yeah, okay, thanks for the question, Andy. So we'll be getting out the information for your regional leads off the back of this session. So direct the question over to your regional leads and they can be used as the escalation point.
Okay.
What we would like to do, Andy, is we need to confirm the grant funding agreements are in place. So this is an opportune moment just to take a reminder to everybody on the call. Obviously, you have a deadline for the 9th of April. So the grant funding requests, the packs of information that went out on the 18th of March from the assessments team, all those documents need to be compiled, signed, returned by 1800 at 6 o'clock on the 9th of April, and they're going into the inquiries-SHDF at salixfinance.co.uk email box. So once the GFAs are signed, we will get the update of the final projects and the SPOCs as we have allocated them so far. Will then be able to be paired up with grant recipients and in readiness for setting up those calls on the week commencing 22nd of April. So I see we've got a couple of hands
Russell.
Up.
Sorry, can I just come back? Yeah, the questions I've got are specifically about the grant fund, so
yeah,
they're linked to the signing of all the documentation and everything else. So until I get a response, that's not going to happen. So
yeah, appreciate that. So we obviously we can flag that if you're an outstanding call regarding your GFA. So the query went direct to Salix to that same inbox.
Last Tuesday.
That's fine. Yeah, we'll follow that up after the call. Okay, there's a few more hands have just popped up. Is that
It's Kevin here. I put my
Kevin
hand up
Diggers?
first.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm actually from the department, and I'm in response to Andy's query actually, which is still sat with the department. So we do have it, Andy. As you can appreciate, it's there's a lot of questions to be asked, and we need to speak to a lot of people within the department. But we are working on it, and we had a call about it yesterday. My senior managers are out today, but we are looking at trying to get something to you by the end of this week, i.e. Thursday. So
Okay,
hopefully
thanks.
that alleviates any fears. But as you can appreciate, we need to take advice from others within the department.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kevin.
No worries.
We also have a hand up from Andrea Morley. Andrea, would you like to come in and ask a question? Or the team could unmute Andrea there, please.
Here I am. Yeah. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. The fraud risk assessment and management group engagement session you've got held on the 9th of April, which is exactly the same day as I need to return the risk assessment back. Is there any help available beforehand in terms of supporting us to complete that?
Leanne, would you like to take that one?
Yeah, Andrea, let me take that back to my fraud colleague at PwC and come back to you on that one. So really, it's either a request for support prior to the submission, or indeed whether there's flexibility on the submission to take place once the session's been delivered. Would that be an accurate summary?
Yes. I think that my thought is what we submitted on our application, I believe, was rather robust. So it might just be a case of I just need to cut and paste it across. I cannot think of anything I can add to the fraud risks and other risks that we identified during the application process, but I don't want to get it wrong.
Okay, good. Look, Andrea, let me follow up and we will come back to you shortly on that one.
Fab, lovely. Just a couple of other quick questions. When do we get the application feedback, or have I missed that in one of the zip files that have been sent across?
So it's not something I've got the details off to hand, Andrea. Obviously, we'll take that away. Corey, if you've got an update on that?
Yeah, no, I was going to say the same thing. I think we'll take that one away because we don't have the detail on it.
And my final question is, and I'm presuming it's a no, but do you ever include your principal contractor in the monthly SPOC meetings, so we're working together as a one team, or do you kind of just leave it to meeting with us, and then obviously we then go back and do the contract management with the contractor delivering the works for us?
So we generally like to meet with the lead from each of the grant recipients. If you feel that it's beneficial for you to bring your delivery agent in to support that, then we don't object to that. But it has to be representative of the grant recipient on that call.
Yeah. Okay. Lovely. Thank you.
So there don't appear to be any more hands up. Nothing else has come into the chat. That seems to be all the questions for today. So